Hey there, I'm Abby, parenting coach and host of Root to Reign, a resilient parenting podcast. This is a space where emotionally invested moms of teens learn to lead with calm, rebuild trust, and parent from a grounded place, even in the messy middle of motherhood. So if you're listening to this, especially in August, I'm guessing you've had at least one moment in the past week or so where you've thought, how am I supposed to do all of this? Because thinking about where you're at right now, you're getting your kids ready to go back to school. And maybe you just have high schoolers, so you're just focusing on the high school rush, or maybe you have a little bit of blend between high school, middle school, and dare I say an elementary schooler. So, you're getting everybody back to school, doing the back to clothes shopping, making sure you have all their school supplies, making sure you've gone and met the teachers that you've needed to meet or gone to back to school night, waiting for your teen to get their schedule. And once they get it, like 2 days before classes start, of course, suddenly it's either your fault or your issue to figure out how to get them into that class that somehow they missed. So you have to go and you have to navigate that with the principal or the AP or the school guidance counselor. And on top of that, now you have to figure out what are the logistics for being able to get everybody to where they need to be. If you're teaching somebody how to drive, they might be saying like, Mom, I'm fine. It's fine. I know how to do it, but we're going to need to leave by like 7:15 a.m. if I want to get there by 8 because I want to go see all my friends. And you're like, hey, that's fine. But also I have to get your sister to school and I'm not sure that I feel comfortable with you driving in all the chaos just yet, even though I know you're a great driver, right? And so you're navigating that. You're navigating having to make sure everybody has lunches figured out, has snacks figured out. And don't even get me started on all of the practices and signups and doctor's appointments you have to go to make sure you get their physical so that you can fill that form out so that you can actually get them enrolled on time. And it's just so much. It's so much that you're navigating on top of coming off of summer, feeling like you were probably having to take care of everybody. And oh my goodness, is everybody's sleep schedule okay? And did I do terribly when it came to that situation with their phone or their friends? And why I tend to the past episode and this one now too, have these lists is because that's oftentimes what I see with my clients. Is there's these ongoing lists, this ongoing pressure of all the different things that I am carrying, that I'm having to make sure I'm on top of so that everything doesn't just fall apart. And that's part of what I want to talk about today is the pressure and really what's behind this pressure, that driving force. Oftentimes I see this as shame. Shame is telling moms what they should be carrying. I should have made summer more magical. I should be more prepared. It kind of keeps you in that stuck of all the things you would have, could have, should have done better. And it's pressure. And I know it's that phrase of like, stop shoulding on yourself because that shame is telling you all these things that you are wrong in. And I will say, I have heard guilt and shame described in different ways, and I'm going to put my own little twist too on one of the ways I describe and talk about shame. So guilt tells us that we have done something wrong. Now, I've heard this example before, but again, I'm going to add my own flair. When I think about how to explain guilt to somebody, that would be like if you went to a candy store and you stole a piece of candy, and then you felt really bad about it after the fact. That is guilt telling you, hey, you did something wrong. You did something that doesn't align with your morals and values. That is what's telling you something's not quite right. You need to go fix that. Now, shame tells us that there's something wrong with us. Guilt tells us we've done something wrong. Shame tells us there's something wrong with us or that like we are inherently wrong. Now, I will say there is a time and a place for healthy and appropriate shame, right? If at the candy shop, you're sitting there eating the wrapper instead of the candy itself, that might be saying like, hey, I'm not supposed to be eating this wrapper. I wonder why I'm doing that, right? It's a good indicator of like, hey, not saying something's wrong with you, but like, we should not be eating the wrapper. That's not healthy for us. That's not societally correct because we don't eat metal or plastic or put these things in our bodies that can be harmful. That's when shame is a beneficial tool. Now, I often see with moms shame when it's unhelpful or not necessarily warranted. And it's kind of this like misplaced shame. That's if you were at the candy store and you were sitting there getting your absolute favorite candy. Let's say you are a Reese's person or a Kit Kat person, right? That you love a good chocolate candy, but you start to feel really bad and you're like, what is wrong with me? If my friends knew that I liked Reese's or Butterfingers or a good Dove chocolate, they would think something's wrong with me because they all love Starbursts and Skittles and they're totally about fruit candy. But because I don't like fruit candy, something must be wrong with me. And why I kind of bring it up this way is there's so much of that kind of shame that I see from moms. It's like misplaced or kind of inappropriate shame at times where you're sitting there judging yourself, thinking something's wrong with you, when really it is you trying to survive under the pressure of things that you are actually probably doing a pretty good job on. Granted, you could be doing better in some areas, which I think we all can be. That's kind of this idea of progress. But I don't want you to get stuck in perfection and perfection-based shame that tells you that you've done a terrible job because you tried your best and it didn't go well. So thinking about shame is a sign that you care, but it's not a helpful guide for your next steps, especially if it's that version that's inappropriate shame. Now, if you are doing something that is shameful because it is very much against actual morals and values, that's when it is helpful to pay attention to it. Or guilt if you've done something wrong, maybe towards your child, that is worth paying attention to. But again, if you are trying your best, if everybody is safe and healthy, and you are just gearing yourself up from a place of, I'm terrible, I'm awful, like I can't get this right, no matter how many times I've tried, I failed at everything again. Of course, everybody else can do this, and I'm the only one that can't. That is not the shame we want to tune into. That's the kind of shame that is keeping you stuck and in the dark that we kind of need to blow the lid off of and say, no more of that. Because so many people are just trying to get through the back to school swing of things. So many moms are doing a fabulous job and might not be getting the thank you or the gratitude that they should be hearing. So hear it from me. Thank you for stepping up for your children and making sure that they're taken care of and that they have a new pair of shoes and that they're able to have food in their lunchbox because you got them the cutest lunchbox or because you actually took the time to help make sure they were signed up for driving lessons. If you're like, Abby, I have not gotten any of these things done, please don't take that as me shaming you. Take that as you are still showing up and what else is on your plate that is getting in the way of you not even just taking care of your teens, but taking care of yourself. Again, that is part of my process with parent coaching, is not just a matter of what do we do for your teen, but more so, we are coming at this from a place of how to best support you so that you can show up as the parent, not only that you want to be, but that you are so capable of being, that you can be that calm leader in your home. But we can't do that from a place of shame. So thinking about the emotional burnout that you've been dealing with and thinking about how much of that is being fueled by shame, this could look like you are snapping easily. Maybe you're running on empty. Maybe it even looks like there's no motivation for one more thing on your plate. These are good indicators. Well, maybe not good indicators, but they're indicators for sure that things are too much right now, that you are doing too much, that you are headed for burnout, that you need to take a step back and worry about yourself and take care of your needs. This is kind of back to that invisible load, which especially in the beginning of the school year, doesn't feel that invisible because of all the appointments you're going to, because of all the logistics you're navigating, because you're trying to make sure everybody and their sibling is taken care of. There is a lot that is going on. And I know you're like, Abby, this is not the season for me to like focus on me and make sure I'm taken care of. And I realize there is going to be pockets for yourself. I'm not asking for a full-blown retreat week right now, but I am saying I need you to be showing up for yourself at least a little bit, because we cannot pour from an empty cup. And if you're going into this school season feeling already drained, then we need to do something to replenish that. So thinking about some of the nervous system regulation that can take place to help reground you before you get back into this school year and feel like, I've done this before, and last year it went terribly, and I'm already mentally prepping for this to be terrible too. We're going to start with that. We're going to think about, instead of having goals and feeling like lofty ideals for your nervous system, I want you to think about setting intentions for this year. What kind of parent do you want to show up as? How do you want to support your teen when things start to go wrong? How do you want to start talking to yourself when you notice you're slipping back into that place of inappropriate shame? And I want you to be able to take more time, take little steps, right? This has to be manageable in this season, but be able to do a little bit more to help re-regulate yourself so that you have the ability to show up for your teen in the way that you want to. And this is going to look really small, right? Like I said, I know you don't have a bunch of time in the morning. If you have a teenager that's excited for school, you might be on, I'm not even going to say the lucky side because I don't know that that really fits, but you might have a little bit more time in the morning because they might be up and excited and getting themselves out of bed right now. So that might buy you even just 5 minutes right there. You might have a teen that has been dreading this school year and that you are having to go and wake up and check in on multiple times. And so you might not necessarily have that 5 minutes first thing in the morning. You might need to find a pocket after everybody's been dropped off. It's okay if you need 5 minutes when you first start. If you're working and you're sitting at your job, take the first 5 minutes of your day for you. If you're a stay-at-home mom and after you've done all the drop-offs, you've done the whole loop, it's like an hour and a half later, first thing you do when you get home, start small, do something to ground yourself. And I need you to think about the intention that you have when it comes to the belief you have towards yourself. So thinking about, okay, if your intention is, I'm going to be super mom and do everything great and not mess up at all, you're setting yourself up for failure because that's just that pressure building. Whereas if you say, I am going to try my best to show up as the best version of myself day in and day out, realizing that I am not going to be perfect at this. I'm going to be human. And I'm trying to model resilience for my teens by practicing resilience for myself first. I apologize. I am flubbing up my words today. So hopefully you're bearing with me. It is very much back to school season for us all. But I want you to think about maybe adopting a new belief, which is, I don't need to fix it all before Monday, before the school year starts, before fill in the blank. I don't need to fix it all. I just need a place to start. I just need to do something, one small thing today to get through today. One day at a time, one moment at a time. We don't even have to think about 1 week at a time because by the end of this week, you're going to be in a different place mentally and emotionally. So just thinking about, I don't need to fix this all. I just need a place to start. And so this isn't necessarily the time where you have to go and overhaul your whole life and schedule. This is just thinking about, what's my intention for starting? And yes, I know some of it is that long-term intent of how do I want to show up this year? But it's really hard to be looking at April and May if you're just struggling to get through today, now in August, if that's when you're listening, it's when I'm recording this. But we've got to make sure that you're okay today. We've got to make sure that day by day you're being taken care of. And if you're not okay, then you need to take care of yourself where you're at today and not add that pressure to have it all figured out. So little resets that we can start to practice today is, and I'm asking for 5 minutes. You can absolutely adjust that. I'm very much somebody where if you need to make adjustments to fit it in your life, do that. Because if it will help you get it done, then that is much better. If I say, I need you to sit silently for 30 minutes and you can only get through 30 seconds, guess what? That 30 seconds is going to be more beneficial than that 30 minutes because that's at least the part that you're doing right now. You can always build up to longer practices, but sometimes we just need short and sweet. So thinking about 5 minutes, either maybe what is one clear, non-negotiable boundary I'm going to stick to this week? If you have a new driver in the house and trying to figure out how to get them to school safely with everybody else driving is causing too much stress for you, it's not taking away their independence. If for you right here, right now, you're just like, I need to be able to drive us to school until we can figure out what our new rhythm is. To me, that is a very clear boundary. They might be frustrated. It's okay to have a conversation with that and let them know, hey, this is just for right now until we get comfortable with things. And then we can revisit this conversation over the weekend so we have a plan going into next week. But right now, I'm trying to figure out what our school route looks like. Maybe another boundary is, hey, everybody, it's a new school year. I know we've not been great about bedtime. So just for this week, and again, boundaries, there is some conversation that goes there. But for this week, I do just want to ask that we're all going to be in bed no later than 10, 11, whatever fits best for your family. But that we are going to stick to that just so that we can start to get back on the right track. And I realize each of your children might have some differences, but that's part of the boundary you get to set is saying, I am not sitting here waking everybody up for 30 minutes in the morning. So I'm setting this boundary. And if you're not able to wake yourself up, guess what? You might be missing school that day. And then you get to deal with the consequences. But that's part of what I'm trying to work on right now, guys, is like having some flexibility so that we're not starting the school year off with that. Is please just go to bed by 10, 11, and I will come and I'll wake you up so that we can go to school and get everybody there on time. Maybe another simple ritual is just a single point of connection with your teen that isn't about logistics. It's not about who's driving, who's picking up, when's your practice, when's this thing. It's like, hey, I actually just want to connect. How are you doing this week? How are you feeling about going back to school? Which teacher are you most excited for? Which class are you dreading the most? Can I tell you about how I'm feeling about work this week? I can tell you about my coworker that I'm trying to get along with, or, hey, let me tell you about my friends and I. We're all in the same boat trying to get everybody back to school. Take a moment to connect. And as much as you're comfortable with, you can choose to share with your teen, hey, I feel stressed too. I've been talking to my friend all week because we both feel like we are just barely hanging on, trying to get everybody ready. And so saying to your teen, hey, I understand and I get it, and I'm in this boat with you. And it doesn't, like I said, those are just like tiny things. And maybe even like another ritual point is if you have, again, after dropping everybody off in the morning or after picking everybody up when you get back, maybe for you that 5-minute reset is just to sit in your car or sit when you get home on the couch, go lay on your bed, and just take 5 minutes to focus on your breathing. You can put your hand on your chest, the other on your belly, and just notice, how does my body feel right now? Where is my mind at? Where are my thoughts going? What am I feeling? Where is the tension? And what kind of pressure have I been putting on myself today? So just taking a moment to check in is also a quick ritual that you can do to just be mindful of how you're showing up today. So I do want to introduce like a 3-step, just kind of gentle reentry plan. Again, you do not have to have everything figured out on the first day of school. If you do, kudos to you, but do not add that pressure to yourself if you don't. So I want you to take time. Again, this doesn't have to be every day, but just as you're getting ready, maybe even the night before school. If school's already started once you're hearing this, that's okay. Just take moments in the morning, in the evening, at your lunch break, or whenever you have a moment to yourself to just pause and reflect. Acknowledge what did work this summer, no matter how small it was. Maybe you found a new recipe that everybody liked. Maybe you were able to find a TV show where you didn't have your children fighting with each other. Maybe you and one of your kids were able to actually have a productive conversation that didn't end in eye rolls. Like, what is one small win that went well this summer? Give yourself kudos for some of the things that you've been working on. Next, I want you to choose your anchor. So what this means is pick one consistent action that makes you feel grounded this week. But part of what we were talking about is just 5 minutes every day to kind of go and reset. Maybe that is to like go sit outside and listen to the birds or the traffic. Maybe that is just like going and laying on your bed in silence and noticing how your body's feeling. But just one action that makes you feel grounded, and take that time to do it. And then the third piece of this gentle re-entry plan is to communicate simply. So let your team know the top 1 to 2 priorities for this week. You don't have to overload them. They're feeling the stress. You're feeling the stress. You don't need the pressure. They don't need the pressure. So again, some of those logistics pieces might look like, hey, I just want to let you know I'm going to drive us to school for drop-off and you're going to drive us home for pickup. Or if you have an independent driver, it might say, hey, I just want to know that you're getting to school safely this week. If you could please just text me to check in. But those are really just part of the gentle reentry plan so that you're able to set yourself up for a different school year. Again, that's pause and reflect. That is choose your anchor, and that's communicate simply, because I wish I could wave a magic wand and say you're not going to run into any hiccups this year. However, that doesn't actually set us up for real resilience. And I know so many of the moms that I work with already kind of have this pit in their stomach where they're like, Abby, the school year is hard because we're going to have battles with grades or have to figure out stuff with friends, or hopefully not, but honestly, sometimes with bullies or people that my kid is not getting along with. And so the idea of having to look at the whole school year can feel really daunting, where I really want this gentle re-entry point to say, hey, we're getting back into the school year. We're getting back into the groove of things. And you're also setting the tone for different rhythms, different routines, and ultimately resilience. And so that's the last part that I want to talk about for today is this mindset shift of going into this school year with resilience as the end in mind. And the best way to practice resilience is to model it for your child first. So if you want resilient teens, you've got to be a resilient parent. That's the whole point of this podcast. And I think about the song Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba, and they have the lyric, I get knocked down, but I get up again. And that's what I want you to think of as you're going into this school year, as you're stepping into any season of life, is that when you get down, you get knocked down, how are you going to get back up again and go about it differently? How are you going to go about it with grit, with gratitude, with knowing it's not always going to be graceful, right? I don't know why I'm getting stuck on G words right now, but just so that you know that resilience can look like all kinds of things, but it does not look like perfection, right? That it looks like progress over perfection. And I want you to think about your teen is going to remember how you recover, not just all the ways that it's gone sideways. So if you're feeling nervous for this school year and you're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to get into? What are things that I'm going to mess up? How am I going to do that wrong? So I want you to check yourself. It's some of that inappropriate shame talking. And instead, I want you to think about how are we going to get back up and keep going no matter what comes our way. So keep in mind that this week, that even this month, does not define the school year for you. And again, remember that progress is the focus here, not perfection, because that means you're modeling that resilience in real time. And so, as a recap of all the different things we've talked about today, remember that shame isn't the answer. Burnout is a signal to slow down, and resets need to be small to start. In fact, I would encourage you to start with teeny tiny so that you can start to have quick wins. So if you want a back to school reset that's tailored to you and your family, I would love to help. Please feel free to apply for one-to-one coaching with me. I actually have a couple of spots opening up this fall. And I am hoping to start a group program soon too. So if either of those feel like they might be an answer to some of your questions, to some of the needs you've had, please reach out to me. We are going to start with simple, clear, and doable things that are going to make a difference for you and your family. You can always reach out to me on Instagram at Parenting with Abby, or you can send me an email, which would be hello@rootedinresiliencecollective.com. And I want you to remember, as always, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be rooted. I hope this week and back to school goes better than you're expecting. And even if not, that's where you get to practice what we've been talking about and model that resilience in real time. Again, being rooted, not being perfect. All right, have a great rest of your week and look forward to speaking with you soon.